So we're going to start talking about adding and subtracting polynomials together, and there's just some more definitions and terms we have to clear up before we can keep going on. We started talking a little bit about monomials and binomials and trinomials in the first video. This one's going to concentrate on adding and subtracting polynomials, and that's all about combining like terms, and it should be something that you're very used to doing. But just a couple definitions to make sure we know what we're doing. Term is a number, a variable, or a product of numbers and variables, and they are separated by pluses and minuses. So that's where you can tell where one term starts and the other one stops. Okay, a like term are terms where the variable factors are exactly the same. Okay, and so that does include the exponents. So, for instance, obviously x and 2x are like terms. Okay, 3xy squared is a like term with xy squared. Okay, so all of these exponents have to be in the exact same spot, as well as the variables. Here's a couple other terms that you need to make sure that you understand. Coefficient is something that everyone should know of by now, right? It's just the number part of a term. The degree of a monomial is the sum of the exponents of the variables, just the variables. Okay, the leading term is kind of like putting the polynomial in descending order of the degrees of the monomials. Okay, and then the leading term's degree is what the degree of the polynomial is. And we're going to do a couple of examples just to make sure that you do understand what we're talking about here. Okay, for the first example, we have a polynomial with 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, they're broken up by pluses and minuses. This is a polynomial in descending order. So we're looking at this first term, and the degree of this monomial is a 3. The degree of this monomial is a 2. The degree of this term is a 1, and this is a degree of 0. Okay, so the degree of this polynomial would be a 3. The leading the leading term, right, is 2x cubed. Okay, the coefficient of the first term is 2. The coefficient of the second term, 8, -17, and -3. Okay, now in the second example, this polynomial is not in descending order. Okay, but again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms. Remember that the degree is the sum of the coefficients of the variables of each term. So this degree of this term is 2. The degree of this term is 5. The degree of this term is 2. The degree of this term is 7. The degree of this term is 1. And again, if there's no variable, the degree is 0. Now, since the leading term of a polynomial is the term with the highest degree, that would make our term here, -24xy squared z to the 4th, as our leading term, because it does have the biggest degree. Followed by 8x squared y cubed. Okay, and then we have 2 terms here with a degree of 1, and there's different ways that you can do this, or think about this. Usually, if you have multiple variables, you kind of take care of that first. So in this case, it'd be -17xy followed by 6x squared plus 2y plus 3. All right, now we're going to get into the stuff that you really got to make sure that you know what you're doing with. We're going to start off with adding polynomials. So we have two polynomials, each of them in their own set of parentheses. So all we're doing here is combining like terms. So make sure you do understand what a like term is. Right? We're going to combine the 8a and the 4a, the 6b and the negative 2b. Please watch your signs. Negative 3c and positive 2c. If you want to rearrange them, that's great. I'm just going to go ahead and say 8a plus 4a is 12a. 6b minus 2b is a positive 4b. Negative 3c plus 2c is negative c. Okay, again, we're just going to combine like terms because we are still adding polynomials. Here's our first polynomial. We're going to add it to our second polynomial. And all that means is that we're combining like terms. So we're going to take the 9ab and add it to 13ab for 22ab. We're going to say negative 3ac plus a negative 15ac for a negative 18ac. And finally, we have a 5bc added to a negative 8bc for a negative 3bc. So I just got two more examples to do. We're still adding polynomials. Here's our first polynomial. We're adding it to our second polynomial. And again, we're just identifying like terms and combining it because we are adding. So 8x squared y plus a negative 2x squared y is 6x squared y. Negative 3y squared, and that's what that's supposed to be, a squared. Negative 3y squared minus xy squared, and that is there is a 1 here, even though there doesn't look like there is, for negative 4xy squared. And then finally 4xy plus 1xy for positive 5xy. Okay? Now there's nothing that says that you cannot add more than one polynomial together. In this case we're adding 3 of them. So, there's nothing that says that you have to do it all at once, right? You can do a couple at a time and rearrange them however you feel comfortable. And again, it's nice because they're positives. We don't have to worry about subtracting, which is what we're going to do next. But we have 2r squared plus 6r squared. That gives us 8r squared. Plus r squared would be 9r squared. Now we're moving down the line. We have 12r minus 2r, which is 10r, minus another r, which would be positive 9r. And then finally, we have a negative 11 plus 4, which is negative 7, minus 2 for minus 9. So now we're going to do some subtracting of polynomials, and it's basically the same as adding, except you just got to be careful. I mean, this is something that you've actually been doing for a long time, solving equations, order of operations and whatnot, but it does make a big difference. We're taking this polynomial and we're subtracting this polynomial away. Okay, so there is a negative 1 here, and we do need to distribute the negative to both of the inside terms here. Now, people get carried away, and for some reason they refuse to write out their steps, and then you're going to miss the second term here. So I would just take a second and write it out. We don't really need the parentheses here. We have 7x minus 5, but this becomes plus 3x minus 4. There's no need to make this harder than it is. If you really need to do it in do it in one step, just be very careful because now we are subtracting. So this should give us 10x minus 9. Okay, here's another example of subtracting two polynomials. Here's our first polynomial. We're going to subtract our second polynomial from it. And again, don't get ahead of yourself. Make sure that you do something like this correctly. Just take the time to distribute the negative 1 that's in front of the second polynomial, and everything will work out just fine for you. Negative 3x squared plus 2x plus 9 minus x squared minus 5x plus 4. Okay, now all you're doing is combining like terms. So negative 3x squared minus x squared is negative 4x squared. 2x minus 5x is a negative 3x. And 4 plus 9 is 13. Okay, we're going to do another example. And don't be the person that messes up on your signs when you're subtracting polynomials. Right? I know everyone wants to show off their math skills to everybody and do everything real quickly, but that only causes silly mistakes. Take the time to write it out. Okay, so nothing's changing with this first polynomial. But we are going to have a negative 9a squared plus 4ab minus 2b squared. No, that just takes a little bit of time, and now everything should work out just fine. 5a squared minus 9a squared is negative 4a squared. 4ab plus 4ab is plus 8b. And then finally, negative 3b squared minus 2b squared is negative 5b squared.